Sure. Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Heidi Dempsey. I'm in psychology, and this is my student, Julie, who is doing an honors thesis with me. She started doing her research last semester, and she is continuing to write up her thesis this semester. And she is going to present on sex differences in subcategories of narcissism, extraversion, conscientiousness, and psychopathy.
So I did my thesis on differences in subcategories of narcissism, extroversion, conscientiousness, and psychopathy.
Use the microphone.
There you go.
Okay. So popular media suggests that men and women differ on personality traits, and there is empirical evidence to support these claims. I put up a few definitions that are going to be important for this study. So for this study, we defined extroversion as the preference for seeking gratification from social engagement. And then in parentheses, I put a couple of the facets that we explored. So for extroversion, we explored activity level and we explored cheerfulness. We also explored gregariousness and friendliness. And these terms are often used synonymously, but for this study, it's important to distinguish between them. So gregariousness refers to the quality of being sociable and enjoying the company of others, while friendliness refers to the quality of being cordial and affable. Conscientiousness is the quality of being dutiful, thorough, and self-controlled, while psychopathy is the quality of having low empathy and poor self-control. I like to conceptualize these two as a spectrum with conscientiousness on one end and psychopathy on the other. And then we defined narcissism as feelings of selfishness, entitlement, and heightened self-importance. So the literature reflects that men tend to score higher on measures of narcissism and psychopathy, while women tend to score higher on measures of conscientiousness. The literature also reflects that women tend to score higher on the gregariousness and friendliness aspects of extroversion, while men tend to score higher on the dominance and assertiveness aspects of extroversion. And we expected our study to support the results of previous studies. So for our methods, we used a correlational survey, and we used the SurveyMonkey platform. And then these are the scales listed that we used in the survey. I also included some item examples. So I feel comfortable around people, that is from the extroversion scale. And then I keep my promises is from the conscientiousness scale. I often fantasize about accomplishing things that are probably beyond my means, that is from the narcissism scale. And then I have taken illegal drugs is from psychopathy. Our data was collected completely anonymously from 149 participants, and we did collect data from non-gender conforming participants, but we did not include that data in our analyses because this study focuses on sex differences, not gender differences. These are the results. I included the 4 facets that there was a difference in. So the facets are there on the right, and then the t-value indicates the direction. So all the positive numbers indicate that men scored higher, and then negative numbers indicate that women scored higher. So for our study, the only facet that women scored higher in was the gregarious facet of extroversion. And then these are the female and male averages for each facet, and then the p-values for each. So statistical significance for our study was determined by a p-value of 0.05 or less. So anything below that is statistically significant. And you may know that friendliness did not quite meet that threshold, but it was really close, so we decided to include it anyway. So we explored 28 facets, but as I mentioned, only 4 showed a difference. And this is consistent with the idea that men and women tend to be more similar personality-wise than they are different. The facet with the largest difference between sexes was the callous affect facet of psychopathy, and then the overall trait that was different, the most difference we saw was the psychopathy trait. And this is very consistent with previous literature. So previous studies have also concluded that men tend to score higher on narcissism while women tend to score higher on conscientiousness. And our study did not support this conclusion. Of the data we analyzed, 113 were women, but only 36 were men. So this is the largest compound of our study, or potential compound of our study, just because we didn't have enough men to participate in the study. So our hypothesis stated that we expected men would score higher across the board on measures of psychopathy, and our study does support this portion of our hypothesis. Our hypothesis also stated that we expected women would score higher on conscientiousness, while men would score higher on narcissism, and we found no difference between sexes on either of these traits, so this portion of our hypothesis was not supported. In regards to extraversion, we hypothesized that women would score higher on gregariousness and friendliness aspects of extraversion, and although our study does support the idea that women tend to be more gregarious, we found that for our study, men tend to be higher on friendliness. We also expected that men would score higher on the dominance and assertiveness facet of extraversion, but once again, we did not find a difference in this facet. And these are my references. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
How fast do you think these things are changing?
Personality is defined as being consistent over time, so it's probably not changing a whole lot.
I don't so much mean like in my lifetime will my personality change, but do you think that men's friendliness, or let's say the differences between the sexes, change over decades or change over centuries, or are just more immutable than that?
I think perhaps a lot of it comes from like how we're socialized, and as society changes, we'll probably present differently. But because gender is performance, so right now we're in an era where women aren't expected to be as like courteous and quiet as before, and we're able to show more of that dominance and assertiveness side, so maybe that could be why we didn't see those differences in the study. But yeah, I do think it changes. Anything else?
You may have mentioned it, but who were your participants?
We used college-age students, so we used a couple different classes, but they were all college-age students in different psychology classes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's thank our speaker.